Brexit is a mess. I know this not because I follow it all that closely or because it'll have much of an impact on me, but I do read the news. And earlier last week, when I was trying to get out of Wilsonville, Oregon, I was there for a little meeting, and back home, it was rush hour. It took me 50 minutes to go 5 blocks. I'm not used to being in bad traffic, and I got caught in, so I pulled up a couple podcasts. I had a lot of time, and I listened to 2 podcasts, one from the New Yorker political podcast and one from 538. Both featured interviews with people from the United Kingdom, either reporters or political science professors who knew the details and were following Brexit very closely, how it started, what's happened in the 2 years and a half since it was voted, and what might possibly happen now. And I came to the conclusion that it is a mess. Hey, this is Tim Patterson, Trade Show Guy. You're listening to, or perhaps watching, TradeshowGuy Monday Morning Coffee. So glad you could join me this morning. I've got my cup of coffee. Hope you got yours. You know what? While I was listening to these podcasts, giving out details of the Brexit mess, I kept thinking of unintended consequences. So I figured maybe that's good for a topic this week. Unintended consequences abound in many things we do. So what exactly are unintended consequences? Well, actually, the term, I looked it up on Wikipedia because that's what we do these days, right? The term was popularized in the 20th century by American sociologist Robert K. Merton. So let's look at the Wikipedia page of unintended consequences. Can be grouped into 3 types: unexpected benefit, like a positive benefit, often seen as luck, serendipity, or a windfall; unexpected drawback, an unexpected detriment occurring in addition to the desired effect of the policy, like they give an example. While irrigation schemes provide people with water for agriculture, they can also increase waterborne diseases that have devastating health effects. Okay, you could also get a third type, perverse result. A perverse result contrary to what was originally intended. When an intended solution makes a problem worse, this is sometimes referred to as backfire. Some possible causes of unintended consequences include the world's inherent complexity, parts of a system, responding to changes in the environment, perverse incentives, human stupidity. That's what they say. Self-deception, failure to account for human nature, or other cognitive or emotional biases. He lists 5 possible causes of unanticipated consequences. This was when he published this in 1936. Number 1, ignorance, making it impossible to anticipate everything, thereby leading to incomplete analysis. Number 2, errors in analysis of the problem or following habits that worked in the past but may not apply to the current situation. Number 3, immediate interests overriding long-term interests. I'm sure you see that happen all the time. Number 4, basic values which may require or prohibit certain actions even if the long-term result might be unfavorable. And number 5, self-defeating prophecy, or the fear of some consequence which drives people to find solutions before the problem occurs. Thus, the non-occurrence of the problem is not anticipated. So there you go. I'm sure we can all think of situations where your intent was to do one thing, but something else, another consequence, came about because of that original action, something that came about that was not intended. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's bad. Sometimes it's kind of indifferent. For example, Let's go right to the trade show. When you exhibit at a trade show, you probably do so in an effort to grow your business, but all sorts of things, unintended, can come out of your appearance there. I've seen this happen before. Some competitor may try to poach one of the members of your management to recruit them. They say, "Hey, this is a good guy. We need to hire him or her." Hey, it could happen. You may find another product that's a good complement to what your company does, and that might lead to a potential partnership, or you may say, can we make an offer on your company? An unintended consequence. Some famous unintended consequences in history. The one they point out here is 1920s United States prohibition, originally enacted to suppress the alcohol trade. It drove many small-time alcohol suppliers out of business, but consolidated the hold of large-scale organized crime over the illegal alcohol industry. Made the mob grow. Who'd have thought, right? Since alcohol was still popular, people wanted their drinks. Criminal organizations producing alcohol were well funded, and also since they had a lot of money, they did a lot of other activities as well. Similarly, the war on drugs, intended to suppress the illegal drug trade, instead increased the power and profitability of drug cartels, who became the primary source of the products. So unintended consequences, right? Kudzu which is a plant introduced to the U.S. as an ornamental plant in 1876 and later used to prevent erosion in earthworks, has become a major problem in the southeast U.S. It's displaced native plants and has effectively taken over very large portions of land. So unpredictable, unintended consequences. Now, I don't know how Brexit will turn out. Probably nobody knows. But when the issue was put to a vote in 2016, my guess is that many people who promoted Brexit thought it would be a good thing and would be a fairly seamless process to exit from the European Union. But it's turned out to not be the case, and indeed, it is a big mess. The Prime Minister, Theresa May, has been gallivanting around Europe trying to cut a better deal and things. And she had a vote of no confidence and all this sort of political stuff, which in England I don't get into that much, but it's interesting. And it is seriously a mess. Even the littlest things can have unintended consequences. Take a wrong turn while driving, and you can go down a road that you weren't expecting. You might find something down there good, like a great coffee shop. Or you might find it's a dead end. You got to turn around and go back. Of course, you cannot predict unintended consequences, kind of the nature of the beast, but you can hopefully consider a lot of things that might happen as a result of an action that you're planning to take. I like being intentional, knowing what you're doing and what the consequences are. But even then, hey, things happen that you are not expecting. So this week's Trade Show Tip of the Week, we're going to pull something from the book Trade Show Success. I haven't wrote a chapter on booth design in there, and part of the chapter has to do with booth function. So how does your booth function? And I think that this is a very key element to designing your booth, whether it's with your 3D designer, whether you're sketching it out on the back of a napkin, it doesn't matter. Which is the back of a napkin, by the way, versus the front? Anyway, just a thought, an aside. Some questions you'll have to settle with booth function. Do you have enough storage? Need the storage. How many meeting areas do you need? Do you even need a meeting area? What about demonstration areas? Should the meeting areas be completely private, semi-private? What products or services are you promoting? Do you have enough shelf space for them, or a demo space, or an iPad, or a kiosk, or something that can people can interact with? So when it comes to designing a booth, make sure that you have all of the functions. And interestingly enough, kind of the unintended consequences, I'll give an example. We had a client years ago that built a 20 by 20 booth, and on one side they had kind of a covered area with a couch there, right? So they figured that that would be a great meeting place for clients to sit down and chat. After they set this booth up twice, they did away with that because they found out that that was not happening. Instead, all their employees, or a lot of their employees, would actually take long breaks there, which is what they did not want. Unintended consequences. So once you live through it, you'll realize maybe that function that we're hoping to have is not actually going to happen the way we thought it was going to happen. But you still have to plan as best you can and then live in the booth for a show or two to know what really, really happens in there. Function is very important. So that's this week's Trade Show Tip of the Week. This week's One Good Thing. I picked up the new book from Seth Godin called This Is Marketing. I'm just a chapter or two into it. I always like Seth. I think his podcast is Akimbo is one of the best things out there. I listened to that. I probably had that as one good thing before. But he's got a new book out called This Is Marketing. You can't be seen until you learn to see. I'm going to really enjoy this. And I think if you're into marketing and want to learn what Seth is teaching, this would be a good book to pick up. All right, that does it for this week's Trade Show Guy Monday Morning Coffee. So glad you could join me for coffee. Let's do it again next week. Next week will be the day before Christmas. How about that? We'll keep going, though.